بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. I think we're still in chapter number 8, and the chapter talks about the ruqa, incantation, and the tamima. There's one of the brothers, he had sent me a link to the saying that the wrong interpretation of the word tamima in English. Tamima, it doesn't mean actually whatever is being hanged on the neck. In English it means something else, and I really now enforce the meaning of talisman more than the tamima. But the tamima, it doesn't mean actually what is on the neck, because that's what the dictionary says anyway. So we come back to the interpretation of the tamima according to the author. He says that tama'im, what is something is being hanged on the children, he says there, and they usually put it on for the sake of the evil eye. And as I said, the evil eye, as the hadith we have discussed a long time ago, which is in also we have discussed it in the ruqyah. The evil eye is something that we need to make sure that we are immunized against it, and we have discussed it thoroughly in previous chapters. Here he says that if the tamima has Quran, then some of the Salaf had made it permissible, and some of them, or some of those companions, made it not permissible. One of them is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhuma, or radiyallahu anhu. And the correct opinion that we have arrived to, that the Quran should not be hanged on the neck, because we don't really seek the barakah through the Quran. Yes, it is not from the shirk. It is not from the shirk, but we say it is from the prohibition that when you hang it, lots of people think that you are hanging ta'awiz. And usually it is the case that as well, that we said that the children, they put it on, they take it to the toilet, and also some of the children, they might urinate on top of it. So that's why we say it is not allowed, and it is not from the right thing to do, because it will lead to the shirk. But in itself, if we look at the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when he says, "Man ta'allaqa shay'an wukila ilayh." This is the hadith of Abdullah ibn Ukayd. "Man ta'allaqa shay'an wukila ilayh." He who is being hanging something, he will be put in trust into that thing. Now that thing, the Quran, is the words of Allah, so it is not created. So it comes out of the shirk. But we said that this is not the etiquettes of many companions, one of them Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and also his students, as we're going to see inshallah. And when we put, for example, Ayat al-Kursi, or a verse of the Quran on the neck of a person, people now start not really reciting the Quran, or learning how to recite the Quran, or memorizing the Quran. They just say that I've got a piece of Quran on my neck. We find as well that some of the women, they put even the words of Allah on top of their chest, and some of them are even not really decently dressed. They put it on top of the part of their chest, the word Allah. And I find it very insulting to the Almighty Subhanahu wa Ta'ala when the woman, she's naked, she's putting the word Allah Azza wa Jalla on her neck, even though that she's telling you that she's a Muslim. But in somehow that I find it insulting to the Lord Almighty Azza wa Jalla. And I find it, there is no difference between a woman who is putting the words of Allah on her chest, or a woman putting Allah on someone else, on her body, or a verse of Quran. That's the same thing. And Al-Ruqa, he says here, as has been explained, Al-Ruqa is the azan, ta'awiz, incantation. And some of it shirk, as we said, some of it is not. And he says that the Prophet ﷺ had given permission for the evil eye and the sting of a poisonous animal. Now that permission is not just for those two. We know that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to make the ruqa to himself by spitting into his hand and reciting the Qul Huwallahu Ahad, and he wipes himself all over. And that is type of the ruqyah. So you could have ruqyah from yourself as an immunization, you could have ruqyah from the magic, all of that. But here, there is no ruqyah except from the eye or the humma, which is the stinging of the poisoned animal, could be interpreted in two ways. Number one is the way that you say that there is no seeking for it. You don't ask for the ruqya except for those two cases, and that is some of the opinions of some of the scholars. And others, they say no, there is no ruqya. That means more beneficial in the case of the evil eye and the stinging of the poisoned animal. If you understand what I just said, I'll repeat it, which is not in your book. You had it. That is, the ruqya is either that is from the ayn of the humma, that means the ayn, that is the ruqya, which is that you seek the ruqya, you ask for it, istirqa, in those two cases. And the other opinion, which is closer to the haqq, that is the opinion to say that the ruqya is so beneficial in these two things, which is the evil eye and the stinging of the poisonous animal. And we have discussed that, if you remember, in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when he had seen the prophets passing by him, the Prophet coming with someone, person coming with 10. Do you remember that hadith? We discussed the ayn. Can anybody tell me what is that hadith? Where does it talk about the ayn? Yalla Shakir. What does it talk about? The ayn. Now, what is that hadith? You remember I talked about the hadith thoroughly. It's a story. Sa'id ibn Jubayr, Abdurrahman ibn Husayn. What happened? He was not a companion. Abdurrahman ibn Husayn is not a companion. Abdurrahman ibn Husayn was a follower, and he was studying with the teacher, Sa'id ibn Jubayr. What happened to him? He did not wake up in the middle of the night. He did not sleep the night. He got stung. And what happened? What he did? He sought ruqya. And Sa'id ibn Jubayr, did he approve that? Approve half of it. Yeah. But better not to seek ruqya. So what was the person who had helped him? What is that proof for Rahman ibn Husayn to seek ruqya? Hadith حدثناه الشعبي. Remember Sha'bi? What the Sha'bi said? That the ruqya min ayn al-humma. We said that this hadith as well is not easily from the Sha'bi, from the Prophet of Allah. Hadith Burayda ibn Husayn. Nothing forget about all of that. That is the Prophet ﷺ said, La ruqya. There is no ruqya beneficial, stronger than the case of evil eye or humma, which is stinging of a poisonous animal. Remember that? We talked about the ayn. Yes? A long time ago, subhanAllah. Your brains let you down, guys. طيب. So, tiwala. Tiwala, something that the women they used to do in order to make their husband love them. The same thing with a man loves a woman, or a woman loves a man. And we said from that as well, we add to it, as a Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, he says, Ad-Dibla, which is the ring. Yes? The ring as well. The one they put it in the finger, that is as well to be added to it. Right, let's go now to the following, which is Ahmad, he narrates from Ruwayfi'. That's the one. So Ruwayfi', what is Ruwayfi'? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Have you finished it?
We finished reading the whole chapter.
You didn't have Ruwayfi' yet? What is that?
This is chapter 9.
What does it say?
Whoever seeks blessing from trees and stones.
Okay, I'll narrate the hadith Ruwayfi' then.
You said it was like short and too much.
Not too much, it's the whole chapter, most of the chapter. This is very important. This is not abbreviation. This is not concise.
The last one is Ibrahim al-Nakhai.
If I knew this, I would not like it. Allah understand. Right. It's not unfair now. I'm going to tell you something's not your book. Some of them, they've got the book. Some of you haven't got the book. Problem. So either you're going to buy the original book, the three volumes, or you can add this. Right. Ahmad al-Ruwayfi', he narrates that, and that is, he had said to me, the Prophet ﷺ, don't write down until you, because it's going to be a lot. O Ruwayfi', he says, the Prophet of Allah to him, if life is going to be prolonged for you, then tell the people, he who had عقد لحيته, twisted his beard, تقلد وترى, he hanged a string and أو استنجى برجيع دابة أو عظم, or he had made a stinja, cleaned his private parts with the stool of an animal or a bone, فإن محمدا بريء منه. For verily Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, it got nothing to do with him. Now, this is a hadith that has a story. And the story starts with, and it's in Sunan Abi Dawood in full, where there was Shayban al-Qitbani. He said, Maslamat ibn Mukhlib, that is, had used Ruwayfi ibn Thabit to plow the land. So we walked with him from one pile to another pile. Ruwayfi, he said, verily, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when we used to make jihad, ghazw, some of us, that he would take nidl, the camel which is not really strong, the weak camel of his brother. The brother, that means not the blood brother, of a brother in Islam, the camel of someone else, and he would say to him, okay, you have half of what you win from the war booty, half of it. So one of us would go and he would gain only maybe just the arrow, or he would gain the feather of the arrows, or even the metal on the arrow. So then the Prophet ﷺ said to me about, Ya Ruwayfi', O Ruwayfi', لعل الحياة ستطول بك, very life maybe it's going to go longer for you. قال فأخبر الناس, tell the people after me that he who had, and then hadith which is, who twisted his beard, or he had put a string, or made a stinja with a bone, or the stool of an animal, and the Muhammad ﷺ, it's got nothing to do with him. This is the hadith in front of us. Okay, let's just discuss it. Right. Ruwayfi', he is Ruwayfi' ibn Thabit, ibn Sakan. And he's a companion. And he says in this hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him, O Ruwayfi', if life extends for you, if life extends for you. And actually, that is a prophethood. Because the prophecy being fulfilled, this man had lived for a long life until the year 56 after Hijrah. That is about 46 years after the death of the Prophet of Allah. It's a long time. So when he says to him, the Prophet ﷺ, لَعَلَّ الْحَيَاةَ سَتَطُولُ بِكَ, verily maybe life will be prolonged for you. So this man had lived until 46 years after the death of the Prophet of Allah. He died in a place called Burqa, and it's from Egypt. He says, أخبر الناس, tell the people. This is a proof to say that it is important for a person who's got knowledge to inform the people, especially the ones who have got need. So if him on his own is the one who is knowledgeable, then it is a must upon him. And when everybody is knowing the fact, there being more than one person, with more than knowledgeable people, then it will be a collective obligation. So we understand from this, it's a collective obligation if we have more than one scholar who knows the fact. But if it is only him, which is in this case is only him, he has to fulfill his obligation by telling the people. And he says, "Man aqada lihiyatahu." Tell the people who had twisted his beard. Twisted his beard, that means he had tangled it. Now, the Arabs, usually it is the case that they will let go of their beard and they don't cut it. So this is the Arab habits, they don't really cut their beards. But they used to tie it. And they used to tie it sometimes from the middle and sometimes from the side and twist it. So they used to tie ropes into it, or sometimes they tie it itself, make a knot into it, and for some reasons. The reasons are to be 5, as summarized. Reason number 1 is that they do it for the sake of the war. So whenever they go to war, they tie up their beard. Reason number 2, they are imitating the disbelievers, the other ones, the A'ajib, or non-Arabs. The non-Arabs used to do that, so they also as well do that to imitate those people. Third reason is that to show off and pride. For verily, the person who is the leader of theirs, he might even tie it especially from the middle, to make sure that he is, that the master or the head of his tribe. Also from the reasons that he might as well do it for the sake of the eye, evil eye. So he will save himself from the evil eye. That is as well. Also, it could be that this person, he wants to make his beard curly, and that is as well imitating the woman. He wants to make it curly. So once he ties it up as well, he makes it curly. Right, so we said now, I'm going to repeat them again. Number 1, we said for the war. Number 2, we said because of, according to what did you say, number 2? Okay, because I want to know the order, I said. The imitating of the non-Arabs, A'ajib. And number 3 is the showing off, and the master, the head would be tying it from a different location, maybe he's in the middle. And also, number 4, evil eye. And number 5, okay, that is the imitation of the woman by making it tangled and curly. We add to that, it's not number 6, but you could add to that as well, the aqd for salah, because the Prophet ﷺ told us not to tie up our beard in the salah, in the prayer. And it's considered to be like kaff al-thiyab. Kaff al-thiyab means like you are rolling back your sleeves, whether it is the sleeves of your arms or your sleeves of your sirwal, because everything in you would pray. So if you make aqd of your lihya, the same thing, the aqd means the time, and then your hair is considered like the hair at the back of yours. When the Prophet said to a man, he was tying up his hair, he said, loosen it up, because your hair is what? Prostrate. So the same thing with the beard. So all of that into that hadith. Man aqada lihyatahu. So the addition for that as well is the prayer. Okay. Now, after this, we go to the second word, which is taqallada watara. Taqallada watara means he had taken the string, and the string they take it from the vein of the animal, the sheep. You know the veins? The veins. They take it and they make a string out of it to use it for the what? For the arrows. SubhanAllah. So the iron bow, they use that string. Okay. Now that string, the Prophet of Allah is told about it. Taqallada watara. It is not for the sake of beautifying. It is not for the sake of, al-qala'id. Al-qala'id, which is at the time of the Prophet of Allah, the camel will be slit in its hump and a bit of blood will come out. And on top of that, they will put taqleed, qala'id, it will be like a necklace on top of it. Shows that this is not to be touched because they're going to be slaughtered in Mecca. We call it al-hadi. So that is the hadi. It's different from the thing which is now here prohibited. What is the thing which is prohibited? Is a string hangs in it things that is like ta'weed, incantation, in order to prevent the ayn, all of that from the shirk. So this is the tamimah. This is why the link between this hadith and the chapter title, because of that word. Taqallada watar. You understand now the word of what? Watar. And this is the case for putting a string and hooking yourself to a string. How about the case of someone hooking himself to a dead person? in order to go and seek help from him and ask him to cure him. A'udhu billah. That's even more shirk. Then the third one, أو استنجى برجيع دابة أو عظم. The one who makes his stinja, wipes his private parts, the front or the back, after urination or after excretion. He does wipe it with either raji'. Where's the uncle, by the way? Is he right? Okay, close the door. Okay, come inside, uncle. The one called, tell us. Yeah, tell us. We switch out. We close the door.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Heating is still, this is...
No, it's not because of the heat. No, it's because of the difficulty of the breathing. Okay. Exactly. Right, so the stinja is well known even to the Pakistani people. Word which is common word now, stinja, which is to remove whatever is on the private parts, the front or the back. And the Prophet ﷺ here is prohibiting the usage of the stool of the animal. Now the stool of animals is two types. Stool which is pure and a stool which is impure. The stool which is pure, any stool belongs to animals which are permissible to eat. So the stool of the camel, the stool of the sheep, the stool of the cows, the stool of the buffalo, the stool of all of these animals that can be eaten, is their stool is to be what? Pure. Not only that, you could even drink the urine of the camel, the urine of the cow, because they've got medicine in them. They are to be pure. And whenever I say it's pure, it doesn't mean that you have pure. I could eat, for example, the poo of the sheep. It's pure. You could touch it. You could, whatever you want to do with it. It's pure. You could make medicine out of it. Okay, you could sell it. It's pure. It is pure. You could sell it. That one, when you use it, there is two things in it, which is not allowed. Number one, that it is not purified. Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّهُمَا لَا يُطَهِّرُ. They don't purify. Number two, that is, that stool is the food, the fodder of the animals of the jinn. So the jinn, they've got animals. So it's the fodder, the food of the animals of the jinn. That's the stool. As for the stool which is for impermissible animals to eat, like the stool of the donkey, the stool of the cat, the stool of the donkeys, which is not the zebra. I'm talking about the donkeys, which is domestic donkeys. The stool of the, for example, the lions and the dog, all of that. All of this stool, you could use it if it's dry to clean. Again, number one, it does not purify. Number two, as well, that is, it is filth. Whatever impermissible animals eat is filth. When it's filth, I may not sell it because it's najis. I cannot sell it. Okay, it cannot be sold. Right? Okay. Cannot be sold, but it could be used if you want to put it on the fire and make it fire. You can't use it for the sake of cleaning yourself, even if you're cleaning something which is impure. Number three, is it the food or the fodder of the animals which are the jinn? Allahu Ta'ala. The animals of the jinn, it doesn't differentiate between whether the stool is pure or the stool comes from impure. Allahu Ta'ala. So they are animals. As for the adm, regardless of what type of human, it is adm of the animal which is meant here, or adm of a human being. Adm of a human being, it's obvious why it's haram. You cannot use the human being's adm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told you to bury it, regardless of whether it's a Muslim or a non-Muslim. So if it's a Muslim, it's even more haram. And if it's a non-Muslim, why? We're not allowed even to leave the non-Muslim bodies outside for the animals to take them. We should be burying them. So it's not allowed. Even we can't use the body of a kafir, this believer, if he's dead. We can't allow to use his organs without the permission of his what? Family. So you can't just go and dig on somebody with this believer and take his heart. Doesn't matter because of that. No, it has to be the permission with his family. As for the Muslims, whether the permission or without permission, he's not allowed to use his body, because his body does not belong to him anyway. And also cutting the person alive, the dead, is like cutting him when he's alive. Breaking his bone, cutting his flesh, it's the same thing as you did when he's alive. The bones of the animals and the bones of anything also, they don't purify. Prophet said, إِنَّهُمَا لَا يُطَهِّرُونَ. So the animal, the bones and the stool, they don't purify. Also the bones itself is the food of the jinn. Not the animals of the jinn themselves. Okay? So the food, Prophet ﷺ said, لا تستنجوا بالروث ولا العظم فإنه زاد إخوانكم من الجن. It is the rawth, it is their food. And the Prophet ﷺ said, forbade. As for the hadith, which is they don't purify, we know that it is, even it's unauthentic from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it's unauthentic, the hadith which says that they don't really purify, but actually the prohibition of theirs is enough for us to say that they don't purify. So if you've done it, you have to repeat the purification. Now, at the end of this hadith it says, فَإِنَّ مُحَمَّدًا بَرِيءٌ مِّنْ. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it's got nothing to do with him. When he says that, okay, then it is a major sin. Anything which ends up bari, or he will be chucked in the hellfire, or he will be deprived from the paradise, or there's a curse from Allah upon him, all of those verbs means that this is a major sin. Now, is it a major sin that means I've got nothing to do with him as a kafir? No, it does not mean it. It means I am got nothing to do with his actions. But it doesn't mean that you are outside the fold of Islam. No way. Otherwise we're going to chuck lots of people outside Islam, just simply because he's twisting his beard. And I told the brothers as well, some of them, they will do like this while they are listening to my talk. I've seen it. So that's not right as well. It's twisting, and then you end up what? Making twists in your beard as well. So that's not well right. Okay. After this, we go to Sa'id ibn Jubayr. Are you having one? I'm sorry, I'm waiting for you. Right, doesn't matter. Okay. And Sa'id ibn Jubayr, and he is Ibn Dahma, as Abdullah ibn Abbas has described. Sa'id ibn Jubayr, he says, and he's from the great followers, من قطع تميمة من إنسان كان كعدل رقبة. He who had cut the tamima, breaks it, tamima, the necklace, the talisman, from a person which has got ta'aweed, then it is like setting a slave free. Rawahu Waqi'. Right. Now, the word in Arabic, this is Arabic language now, ka'adli or ka'idli. There's two words. Ka'adli, if the two are alike in terms of species-wise, and if it is a fatha on the ayn ka'adli, then they will not be equal, and they're not equal here because you're talking about tamima, and you're talking about setting a slave free, so they're not really the same species, because you're talking about necklace, which is made of lifeless, and something which is incomparable with something that's got life, that is the slave. So ka'idli or ka'adli. This is Arabic language now. Man qata'a tamimatan, who cuts tamima from a person, is like he's setting a slave free. Yes, because you set him free from shirk. When you set the person from shirk, it's like you're setting the person free in life, and even it's better. Even it's much even higher, because the person has been set free from this tamima, he's been set free from the shirk. That means he's been set free from the fire. And there's nothing to describe that except what that Sa'id ibn Jubayr, he said, it is like you were setting him free from the fire. Now, this statement cannot be said by opinions, if you understand. This has to be what? Like revelation. And that is why the scholars differed regarding this. Is this from the mursal marfu'? That means it is attributed to the Prophet of Allah, but mursal. I mean, mursal is da'if. because there is no companions being mentioned here. It's not from a companion, from Sa'id, who comes from the followers' era. And definitely this is not going to be said by opinion. It has to be from revelation. You can't just say that this is equal to something like that. It has to be, okay? And we know that Sa'id is a great scholar from the Tabi'een. But, as I said, the scholars differed, and the correct opinion regarding this issue, it could be like this is Mursal Marfu', that means it has to be attributed to the Prophet of Allah, yet it is not Sahih, because there is no companions from the Ahadith Da'ifa. But from Sa'id ibn Jubayr himself is authentic himself. Now Waki' ibn Jarrah, rahimahullah, is Kufi, and he's a thiqah. And Imam Ahmad had also narrated from him. Now comes to the wording as well, he says كَعَدْلِ رَقَبَةٍ, and then he says وَلَهُ عَنِ إِبْرَاهِيم. Also, we have from as well Waki', that is عن Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. Ibrahim al-Nakha'i is a student of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. And why we say this is important, because he says كانوا, they were. Here they refers to the students of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. It's not, it refers to the companions of the Prophet of Allah. When he says كانوا, that means the students of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. But يكرهون التمائم, they dislike the tamima, which is all of it, regardless, from the Quran or not from the Quran. Whether it's from the Quran or not from the Quran. So this is the Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and all his students, they dislike what? The tamima, regardless whether it is from the Quran or it is not from the Quran. This is from Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, the student of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. And Ibrahim al-Nakha'i is one of the great scholars of Ahl Kufa, by the way. After Abdullah ibn Mas'ud comes Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. When Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is gone, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, he comes in. Right, in that we have issues. Again, you don't have anything. Right. Number one, Tafsir al-Ruqa wa-Tama'im. Tafsir al-Ruqa wa-Tama'im. And we have explained al-Ruqya and Tamimah in details. Secondly, the Tafsir of At-Tiwala. That is the description of At-Tiwala. What is At-Tiwala? Tiwala, we said even the Shaykh in Uthaymeen, he adds to it what? The ring. Remember? Tiwala, which is something that is made for the man to love his woman, or the woman loves her man. Third one, that all of those to be shirk without any exception. That's not right. Cannot be all of the three shirks, because we have discussed that the ruqa and the tamimah, it is not. But the tiwala is shirk. Tiwala is shirk completely. As for the ruqa and the tamimah, we said a ruqa that is incantation, that has the three conditions that we have discussed, and the three conditions are, anybody? Yalla, what are the three conditions for ruqa to be fulfilled? Yes, Fadal?
To believe that it itself does not have the power.
So the first one, which is the one that all the scholars had agreement upon, which is that tamima, that ruqya, you cannot believe that the ruqya, the ruqya itself, or the person who said it, is the one who's got the power. It's actually Allah. That is common among all the scholars. Number two, anybody? Yalla khwanna. The ruqya to be Fadal. I want it to you. Yeah. Has to be in Arabic. That is as well a condition, but it is not agreed upon by the scholars. They said, even if it is by other language, but it's understandable, not abracadabra. Remember abracadabra, open sesame? Okay, so it has. So if it's Arabic, because some of the scholars said Arabic is correct. That's what I've said. Second condition, but we say it is not agreed upon. So the first condition is agreed upon. You can't believe that the incantation or the one who says it is the one who's had the power. It's Allah, only Allah. Number two, which has to be in Arabic. But we said that it's not controversial. And we said the correct opinion is what is understood. As long as it's understood. Number 3. Quran, whatever has been uttered or said from the Quran and the Sunnah also is controversial. We said it doesn't matter even if it's not from the Quran and Sunnah as long as it's got no shirk. So if you said to yourself, Allahumma shfi fulan, Allahumma shfihi ya Rab, Allahumma shfihi ya Rab, that's a ruqya, even though it hasn't been mentioned in the Prophet ﷺ's hadith. As long as you want shirk. Naam.
The act for the ruqya which is being done has to be from the halal things that you could actually like sting and can't do ruqya for it.
We're talking about the ruqya itself. How we do it. Those are the 3 conditions. We added to it. That is, if the person we're not really certain about him, we have to make sure that he says it out loudly. We have to hear it, test it, because he might say things we don't know. So those are the 3 conditions added to it, the clarification that we had said, which is the 4th one, which is the condition number 1, that is the one which is agreed upon by the scholars. That is, if the person, he does incantation, no one is to believe that him or incantation has got the cure, it's actually only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As with other conditions, we have a difference among the scholars regarding them. But anyway, we said that if you have fulfilled those conditions, then your ruqya is to be halal. So when the author says all the ruqya is to be shirk, that's not right. Because he himself, later on, he would say that as well. Okay, so the ruqya is not from the shirk. Some of it is from the shirk. Second one is tamima. Is the tamima all of it shirk? I'm asking. Is the tamima all of it shirk? I just been discussing just now. Yeah? No. Why does it no? Why is it no? It's not shirk or good. Very good. So we said that tamima from the Quran is not shirk. It is prohibited because of other issues. And as I said, some of the Salaf differed about it. So the tamima is not to be said as well from the shirk. Tamima could be, and most of it from the shirk, but some of it is hanging a Quran. He's not making shirk because he's hanging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's not created something from Allah's attributes. Or we said it is disliked or even prohibited because of a number of issues. We said number 1, it will make the people, number 1, that is not to memorize the Quran. Just to put it. Number 2, it's going to be as well taken by the children to places which are not really good, and there will be urination, stingy, and all of that. Okay? So that is as well. Number 3, when you put it on, people look at you, they don't really distinguish between whether it's a proper halal or not halal. They can't distinguish between your own ta'aweez and your own Quran, which is you're putting it on your neck. You understand? And that is, you're going to call other people to do the same thing, and that is will be leading to the shirk. And that is why we say you should not do it. But it's not all of it shirk. So, tamima, all of it shirk, except if it's Quran, it is prohibited, but it's not shirk. By the way, minor shirk, is it a major sin or not? So what about major shirk? Is it major sin or not? So minor shirk and major shirk are major sins. Which one is greater? Minor shirk or zina? What is major? More sin. I'm asking him. See my point? My finger? Minor shirk or zina? Is it minor shirk? Like for example, you put ta'aweez, but zina. Which one? Huh? Which one? Minor shirk. So putting the ta'aweez is more sinful than zina. Because these people, when they put the ta'aweez, they don't believe that they are doing shirk. Okay? And these people as well, they are doing it because they believe, for example, let's say for example he's putting the copper, you remember? Bracelet from arthritis. Okay? They are actually, don't believe that this is curing without Allah. Because if they do, it's major shirk. But if they believe this is cured by the permission of Allah, we say this has been proved scientifically, or is it like, what we call it, what do you call that? Some psychological, yeah? Psychology. So when you have psychological thing, it affects you. SubhanAllah, you're under the pressure, but you're not. They're talking about the water. Did they talk about the water?
Yeah.
Allah.
Let's keep going.
Okay, khair inshallah. Coming to the number 4. إن رقية بالكلام الحق من العين والحمى ليس من ذلك. The ruqya which is with the haq words for the evil eye or for the poisonous animal, it is not from the shirk. But actually, even from other than that, from for example, magic or the ruqya, from as well like a disease or illness, nothing to do with the ayn or huma, also as well halal if it's by other than the shirk. Number 5, tamima is from the Quran. Scholars are different regarding it. Is it from the Tanaim or not? We said correct opinion is not shirk. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he says it's not right to put it on, but we can't say it's shirk asghar because it's Quran. Number 6, and that is why Shaykh ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah, he is as well himself, he cannot say that this is like hijab, like At-Tawheed. He cannot say like this, because he cannot say it's, even himself he says, I can't say it's haram. But later on he could see the inclined to be haram. He's inclined, because Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he's allowing it. Number 6, تعليق الأوتار على التوابع من العين من ذلك. That is to put the strings on the animals in order to protect them from the eyes, and that is the hadith of Ruwayfi. Number 7, Al-Wa'id al-Shadid, the severe or the strong tone of a warning from the Prophet of Allah to the one who had put a watar, which is a string for the evil eye, and also for bringing barakah and all of that. Number 8, فضل ثواب من قطع تميمة, the excellence of the person who had broken a tamima. Now, you break a tamima if you have a power, but if you're going to break a tamima of somebody and it's going to lead to a war between two people, killing, is not right. So the father does it to his son or his daughter, no problem. The husband does it to his wife, no problem. But not the wife comes to break the tamima of her husband. The other way around is not right. A leader as well, or an Imam of a Masjid, the person who is in authority to do that, otherwise it will cause fitna. Okay. Prophet ﷺ, if you remember, we have quoted the hadith, which is not here, that when he had made bay'ah to 10 people, 9 he gave them the bay'ah on the 10th, he withheld. Why? Because he said he's got a tamima. So he took it and he broke it, and then the Prophet of Allah gave him the bay'ah. As for Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and his wife, we said it is not authentic. You remember? Zayn. Number 9. كلام إبراهيم لا يخالف متقدم الاختلاف لأن مراد الصحابة. Ibrahim, when he said Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, the one which is a scholar of Kufa, he does not differ from what has been said before, because he's not talking about the companions of the Prophet of Allah, he's talking about the companions of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. When the author, remember, he said that is some of the Salaf has ikhtilaf regarding putting the tamima from the Quran. Now when he said Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, he said they did not differ regarding putting the tamima, whether it's from Quran or not. He's not talking about they as in the companions, the Salaf. He's talking about the specific companions of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Is that understood? And that is issue number 9. By this, we have, alhamdulillah, come to the finishing or the end of chapter number 8. And we go to chapter number 9. And I'm really sorry that lots of addition has been there. And I really do apologize for choosing such concise. Because you see, the problem is we don't have a person who's already had read this. And I was under the impression that it would be helpful. But alhamdulillah, it will be reference for you. Can I just have your book? The English. Have you got English? So if I ask you to bring, this is volume number 1. How many volumes? 2. I brought you 2 volumes of this. Maybe going to put you off. That's the problem. This is what you should be buying. You should buy that. Okay? That is Kitaab At-Tawheed and all of the explanation of it. Okay? I added a number of things on it. It's not really just from that book, but I'm just saying this is what we should be having, because we are going through Al-Qawl al-Mufid. Right. Number 9, please.
Chapter 9. Whoever seeks blessings from trees and stones and that which resembles them. Seeking blessings does not come outside of 2 matters. Number 1, that it is by a matter known in the Sharia. For example, the Quran.
You've got the notes, yeah? Say
Yeah.
the notes, some of the notes, because I'm really not equal to the notes.
Title notes.
You say the notes. I was reading, where are you reading? You understand? So read again, please, the chapter title.
Chapter 9. Whoever seeks blessings from trees and stones and that which resembles them.
Okay,
Resembles them, note 32.
that's right. That's what I want.
Seeking blessings does not come outside of two matters. One, that it is by a matter known in the Sharia. For example, the Quran, as the Most High says in chapter 38, verse 29.
كتاب أنزلناه إليك مباركا. And I'm not going to do this because it's not linked. I don't know what is he explaining. So, but this one I could say it now. So
A book.
almost the translation, please. Don't wait for me.
A book which we have sent down to you full of blessings. So from its blessings is that whoever takes it acquires enlightenment, and from its blessings is that a single letter brings 10 hasanat, rewards. And number 2, that it is a perceived matter which is known. For example, teaching and calling and what is similar to it. So this is a blessing because much good is acquired from it. And Usayd ibn Hudayr radiallahu anhu said, O family of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, this is not the first blessing of yours. Bukhari and Muslim. And there is also fictitious blessing. For example, what is claimed by the deceiver, the Jaloon, that such and such a dead person who they claim is a wali sends blessings upon them, and that which resembles that. This is fictitious blessings and has no effect. As for how we know whether the blessings are false or true, then we know this is by the condition of the individual. So indeed, if he is a wali of Allah, who fears Allah and follows the sunnah, and is removed from innovation in the religion, then Allah certainly brings about blessings through him and good which he does not cause through other than him and his likes. And from that is what Allah brought about upon the hands of Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahmahullah from blessings which benefited people in his life and after his death. As for the one who differs with the Quran and Sunnah or calls to falsehood, then his blessing is false and pretentious.
Finished?
Yeah.
Chapter 9. باب من تبرك بشجر أو حجر ونحوهما. The person who seeks barakah through the shajar, that is, shajar means tree, hajar means stone, or nahwihima, or the likes. Now, the word tabarruk is from the word barakah, and barakah means lots of abundance, and it's been taken from the word birka, and we use that word until now. Birka means the pool, that is where water gets together, combines together. And this pool is distinguished from the other water by two things. Number one, the abundance of water, because it comes to all these sources of water, the rivers, come to one spot, like a lake, basically. A lake, I should say. Birka is a lake. Yeah, a lake or a pool. Number two, which is that it will stay still. Whereas the other one is what? Running. So this one, that's why it is being distinguished by this, which is lots of water, plus it is in one spot rather than being flowing and running. Right, now, Imam Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah says, when you ask for tabarruk, you're asking to seek barakah. And when you seek barakah, definitely, okay, you're gonna get one of the two. It has to be. Either this tabarruk is tabarruk, what we call it mashru'. Mashru' means something halal, and something which is religious, and something which is known. Now, from that, we could give you two examples. Example number one, which is being given to you now, the Quran. Allah says, Kitaab anzalnahu ilayka mubarak. That is, the Quran is a book which we have sent to you, O Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be mubarak, full of barakah, full of abundance. Now when he says full of abundance, it doesn't mean that you hook it on your neck and you get the barakah. That means when you read it, it will give you that barakah. It will increase your iman, that's number one. And also later on, it will give you the barakah, which is to do with the dunya. And the second example we could give you is that also from the Quran itself, that the Prophet said, he who recites one letter, then he had what? A hasan. And each hasan will receive what? That's the barakah. 10 multiple. So alif lam mim, hasana, 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 that's 3 hasana, multiplied by 10, gives it 30 hasana for reciting alif lam mim. The barakah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam's items. All the Prophet of Allah's barakah, tabarak. This is the second example, which is from, for example, the barakah of his wudu. Remember, whenever he makes wudu, companions would fight to take that wudu. The barakah of the remaining water in the pot. Remember those guests from Bahrain, after the Prophet of Allah had finished his wudu, whatever was in the pot left, they drank it. The barakah of the hair of the Prophet of Allah, when he cut it, when he made the Hajj, he gave his hair and he sent it by Abi Talha al-Ansari. Talha al-Ansari took it and he gave it to the companions. And each one had taken some of the hair of the Prophet of Allah. Why? Because of the what? The barakah. And this barakah is only for the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no other prophets. No other prophets are allowed for that. So only for the Prophet, as long as we know. So if the hair of the Prophet of Allah is a barakah. And Khalid Walid, we said a number of times, he used to put what? 3 single hairs into his what? Helmet. He used to fight with it. And he used to seek barakah. And he said, I've never been defeated in the war. I don't be defeated because of those 3 hair that he used to put them in the helmet of his Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu arda. So this is tabarruk mashru' in number 1, which is shar'i, religious, and ma'loom, known. So it is religious and known. There is also tabarruk, permissible, mashru', which is with something hissi ma'loom. Hissi means something that perceived and known. Like for example, when you sit with the people who are salihun, you sit with them, you get barakah. Feel the barakah. When you mention them, so when sometimes you mention the story of, for example, Waqi', the story of Sa'id ibn Jubayr, the story of the companions, you get barakah. We mentioned the story of Sheikh Al-Albani, we mentioned how of Sheikh Al-Albani, you get barakah. That's a barakah. So the knowledge of the scholars is tabarruk. All of that is called tabarruk mashru'. So we've got now tabarruk mashru', number 1. Number 2, tabarruk not mashru'. It is not permissible. Tabarruk mashru', we explained it, is either by something which is religiously known, like the tabarruk of the Prophet's athar, item that he left, the pot and his clothes and his hair, and also by the Quran. And it's not in the Quran. Okay, but it's not like, for example, putting my Quran inside my glove compartment. I don't touch it, I'm just having barakah, so my car will drive properly. Okay, the Quran is not like that. Some people they do that, or they hang it in the middle mirror. They wave me like that. That's not tabarakah. That's not tabarruk. Unless you're doing this not for tabarruk. You see, you know that, for example, the traffic warden, most of them Muslims. As soon as you do the Quran, they will not give you a ticket. It does happen, you know that. You know the brothers, the traffic wardens, once they see something Quran, right, of course, I keep away from it. But this one works both ways. If it's a disbeliever, he sees it, let me give him double ticket. So it works both ways. So, number 2, the tabarruk which is not permissible. Tabarruk is not permissible, like tabarruk when he mentioned ad-dajjal, the liars. The tabarruk in the shajar, he mentioned here, the tree. Gives an example, and what? Remember shajarat Anwat? The tree of Anwat. They used to hang their weapons on top of it in order to get charged, supercharged. Also with the hajar, with the stones. So you get barakah with the stones, and I've seen people getting barakah from blue stone, they hang it or whatever. Stones. Or seeking even barakah from the prophets, other than the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and the righteous. They go to the grave of someone, you say, I'm seeking barakah. Why? Taking some of the sand of that grave. Okay, or prostrating on that disc, if you remember, we talked about it. Okay, all of that, tabarruk is mamnu', is not permissible. And it is against the book and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, some of the people, they might be deceived by certain things happening on the hands of liars, magicians and sorcerers. For verily Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah explains that. He says, verily the shayateen carries them, so that the people will be deceived that they are holy men. And even some of them, those people, they would not really even continue his hajj. And one of those things that made me all the time, as a Shaykh Falah Ismail, Hafidhahullah, he says, one of this barakah, that this person is a Sufi man, he is in Africa. And every time the prayer comes, he does not leave his place. Okay? Now they won't go to the masjid. Whereas this sheikh, they bring him a handkerchief, they bring it 40 people, and then they put it on top of the sheikh of theirs. The sheikh Dajjal, of course, is not sheikh. And he would be inside. He said, one of the scholars, Shinqidi, he said, I was there, and I was a kid. The sheikh stayed there inside the thing, and he was doing things, shaking. Okay? And he doesn't do jama'ah, doesn't do the prayer. The other ones came from the prayer. Then they take this handkerchief and then they start to say to the people, you know, I saw such and such in the Hajj. That means he was being carried, that's what they tell the people, all the way to Mecca. He made a prayer there, Jama'ah. Okay? They prayed there what? Jama'ah. With the people in Hajj, where you prayed in your own masjid. I prayed Jama'ah. So, Shaykh Abdul Rahman Nasr al-Sabi, the Shaykh of the Shanqiti, says to him, definitely you are Africans. So you know that there is a difference in timing of the prayers. When it's Dhuhr there in Mecca, it is not Dhuhr in your place in Africa. So how can it be? Is it Superman now? If we're turning the clock back or something, or what? So what's that the people think are very naive? When you think about it, subhanAllah. How can they believe that this man is doing Dhuhr prayer in that place? They believe. And they believe. Right. Now he said, Ash-Shajar. Ash-Shajar, any type of tree. From the Hasanat of Umar al-Khattab he has done, and when he saw the people coming to the tree, they call it the tree of Ridwan. What he did to it? Come and cut it. If it wasn't these days in the Muslim countries, in Pakistan, let's say that we have that this tree is being claimed that this is the tree where the companions made the agreement. Oh, you know, the pledge. Great bay'ah. What would that Pakistani do? Yalla Pakistan, follow. Haram. They put a haram on it. Wallahi. They put a glass box, haram, and raku. If these people got no barakah, they give them barakah. How about this tree? They're turned into their own Kaaba. And the people start rotating around it. Shujat al-Ridwan. Abu Khattab said, come here, cut it. Radiallahu anhu. And I like his words when he was talking to the black stone. He's kissing him, he said, Allah, I know you are a stone. He's talking to the stone. And he's being audible to the people. Allah, you know you are a stone. You don't really benefit. No, you don't benefit. But I've seen the prophets of Allah kissing you. If I didn't see the prophets of Allah kissing, because you're a stone. We came from the worshipping of a stone to go and kiss a stone. I got fed up of worshipping a stone and urinating upon a stone, calling it that God, and then coming to kiss a stone. But I'm kissing it because the Prophet of Allah kissed you. Even if it's a stone and the Kaaba is being built, let's say the Prophet does not kiss it. Are we allowed to kiss it? It's been built by Ibrahim alayhi salam. And it's the house of Allah. Are we allowed to kiss it? No. Because we're not allowed to kiss any other stone in the Kaaba except for that stone. Just for that stone, because the Prophet kissed it. There's a Rukn al-Yaman, which is as well a Rukn, holy Rukn. You touch it, you get the sins and forgiven. But you're not allowed to kiss it. So that is what Umar Khattab is saying. That I know that you're a stone, can't speak, can't do anything. And the Prophet told Allah, kissed you, I will kiss you. That's how it is. That's how we should be. Hajar. Then he says, and by the way, Hajar, the stone used to be as well, sometimes they wipe the stones. I've seen them wiping the stones and putting themselves. Right. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, أَفَرَأَيْتُمُ اللَّةَ وَالْعُزَّى. We will talk about that next week, inshallah. So, that's the verse. You got the verse?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. You got that. Talk about that verse, inshallah, next week. I'm going to leave more time now, 15 minutes, 20 minutes for questions. Any questions, please go ahead. And by the way, next week is going to be 7:30. So we start our class 7:45. Inshallah. We have more donations than the people. More sacks and bags of donations than other people. That's really shame. Fadal.
Sheikh, what is the ruling or Islamic ruling regarding the autopsy?
Autopsy.
Because we're talking about
Is autopsy allowed? Because we're talking about what? The human being. Bones. Autopsy, according to our shuyukh, is not allowed. Because the autopsy is actually cutting the person and, for the sake of a crime, usually it is the case. Now, if it is something that we need to understand the epidemic behind it, and by saving other people, we need to investigate that illness from that dead person, then the scholars, they may tolerate for that. So we are saving lots of people because we want to know that disease, so we're taking a piece of his liver, a piece of him, because of saving other people. We want to know. If we could do that to save other people, then yes. But as I said, always have other options. This is the last option. First option, the non-Muslims, with the permission of the family as well, which they will give. If it's the non-Muslims, we go to the non-permission, and non-Muslims which have no permission. Because some of them may be sold as well. They sell the corpses for the people to. If it's the non-Muslims, go to the Muslims, and then we will minimize the cut and the breaking, because the breaking a bone of a Muslim, when he's dead, it's like breaking a bone alive. Okay? As for crimes and all of that, how many times did we know that, to solve the crime regarding this autopsy? The autopsy became like what do you call it? Autopilot, just anything, autopsy. As long as it did not really die in the hospital, autopsy. Okay. So this is not really becoming that sort of, to know what is the disease. It becomes like you have to do. And we know for a fact that the people had done a crime, and despite the autopsy, nothing had happened. True or not? Yeah. So what is autopsy made for? It's just like giving a job for somebody who's jobless.
Just regarding in this country, sometimes we have no.
We have no choice. We have no choice. I said, but we do have a choice now. We have a choice as Muslims to have the autopsy, which is called the scanning autopsy, and that is, alhamdulillah, permissible Islamically. Do as much as you want, as long as you don't delay the process of what? The burial. And that takes about what? 15, half an hour? Maximum half an hour. That's not delay. We will delay half an hour for the sake of your autopsy, for the sake of that you know there's a crime, but not cutting. Autopsy of cutting takes a long time, by the way. A day or so, maybe. A day or so. But this one, half an hour, the machine, it will go section by section, and it gives you a report. It cost about, when the pound was up, of course, before it drops the pound, before it drops down, about 300, 400,000, something like this. Okay, so let's get, the technology is going to go down and down as well. So let's cost $500,000, it doesn't matter. We will buy it, save our Muslims from being cut. No. But it has to have a doctor as well, authorized. You can't just, you give you the machine and you start doing it. It has to be qualified doctor. Fadal.
Is there any basis from the Sunnah when you're eating, you separate the bones of the chicken and then cover that bone because the jinn will eat from the
Is it from the etiquette of the Sunnah that when you eat the bones, you go and bury the bones and cover them because the jinn will come and eat them? No, don't worry about it. Wherever you put the bones will be turned into meat by something that we don't know, can't see, we can't investigate, we cannot explain. It is their food. They come and they mention Allah's name onto it, and the kentik of yours will turn into kentik. Okay? So even if you say to the brother, if it is the case, brother, don't eat the bone because it's half. No, brother, you can eat the bone if you want. So there's something which is nice, you want to eat it, it's been barbecued. I said, you can't eat the bone. This is not our religion, the religion of other people. There's some people hang Quran. Hanging Quran on the wall is not allowed. As the scholars of Shaykh Al-Albani said, this is not allowed. Unless it's a verse, not to decorate, something that the Muslim they didn't pay attention to. Hadith or a verse. But not, for example, a verse which is everybody knows, Ayat al-Kursi. Why are you putting the Ayat al-Kursi? So it's a decoration. But an ayah that the people forgot about. An ayah that would make them a call regarding something, riba or zina or drinking or whatever. Not to hang it as a decoration, like a sign, put it on the wall where the person comes out the door, he could see it. It's not decoration. Or a hadith from the Prophet of Allah. So it's not hanging to decorate, it's hanging to remind. Reminders, you understand me? Not when the person puts reminders, he throw a book on his table. But this guy, we're not going to be reminded of this. I'll put next to his door where he comes out, like a leaflet, a sign. I used to put to a very close relative of mine without saying how close it is. As soon as he comes out the door, he reads, Dirham riba ashaddu inda Allahi min 36 ziniya. 1 dirham riba is more evil in the sight of Allah than fornicating 36 times. Because his money is in riba. His money, he puts it in the bank, all of it, because he won't have riba. Riba means riba. It doesn't mean usually. Riba. You could call it big interest. Interest and big interest. Riba. I don't like the word interest. Because the word interest is nice. It's your interest to have interest, isn't it? Yeah, it's interested word, interest. But riba, riba. Ooh. You say riba, you don't like the word. So that is no problem. Now, other question.
They use it for tabarruk.
Tabarruk is not allowed. Now,
When you go to some Muslim places, actually, outdoors, they have decorations with the ayat and this sort of thing in their rooms. If you have a relationship with your wife, is that permissible to have with the Quran hanging up in that room?
no problem that if the Quran is hanging in the room, for example, to have a marital relations. That is not right. I mean, for example, when you have that reminder on the door or of a bedroom, and you have it, it's no problem because the bedroom is not a toilet. Okay, and you have your room is doing something haram with your wife. It's a problem with something haram. So if you suspect that something is going to be haram, you could hang something to remind them of the haram, even Quran. There's no problem about that because as long as you know that it's not going to be misused, it's not going to be humiliated. It's going to be these Muslim people will honor the Quran. But if they're not disbelievers, they might poo on top of it or say something on top of it. It's not allowed. That's why we say, for example, don't put anything to do with Allah's name in the cemetery. Dogs comes in and all these things. Not right. I say something? Subhanallah, I forgot regarding the question. Yes, there was a person, this is a true story. Sometimes when you go to hotels, you're not really worried about verses of the Quran. You're worried about making pictures. Okay, some of the pictures, they're not totally naked, but they're a bit naked. So what are you going to do? The massive ones, sometimes, you can't even take them out. So one of the shuyukh, and very funny guy, very funny person, mashallah. So he had a room for me, and there was one of these pictures, big one on the wall. So I said, that picture, can we just ask the people to take it out? It's a big one. So he laughed. I said, why are you laughing? He said, I'm going to bring them out, but I'm going to tell you what happened to me. He says, once I was in a hotel room like this, and And this picture there, which is showing the top part of hers, not totally, but you know. So I said to the one who is in charge, you know, I don't want that picture. He says, why? Well, if that picture comes into my bed, okay, but if it doesn't come to my bed, take it out. He's talking to him in his own tone, if you understand me. If that picture doesn't move and come into my bed, what for you bring it in? Just take it away. And that guy couldn't stop laughing. And took it off, of course. So anyway, the people took it off, alhamdulillah. They took it away for me, and because they want the money anyway. Because you're paying the room, so you're entitled for that. Now, hold on.
But you people nowadays still see blessing from trees and rocks and that.
There are still people who are seeking barakah from trees and rocks. I've seen it with my own eyes, uncle. And if you don't go further, we've got alhamdulillah technology. I don't know if you could see the YouTube, you're able to see. I've seen with my own eyes. And Allah gonna ask me about it. Went one day in my country, climbed the mountain to go to the sources of water, something called Hamamat Ma'in, there, hot sources of water. And to climb there is not really easy until they made the steps, long steps. And there I found a tree, and I saw my own auntie tying a string on top of the tree. I looked at the tree when I was a kid. It had lots of strings, colorful ones. And then I asked, what is this for? When I was a kid, he said to me, this is Maqam Shu'aib. This is the tree where they believe Shu'aib alayhi salam, the prophet, he was there. I don't know if Shu'aib was there or not, but it doesn't matter. The tree was there, they call it Shu'aib, Maqam Shu'aib. And I didn't know at that time when I was a kid whether shirk or not shirk. The people, they do it. So, what do they do there? They make a wish, exactly like this, believers. Tie up a string and make a wish. And they are Muslims. My mother prays 5 times a day. Okay? Until, alhamdulillah, at my time when I grew up, Tawheed is better than before. More people are knowledgeable. That tree was being cut. I don't know if it was being cut by somebody or officially, or somebody just gave. It's a big tree. It's like that one wall. Massive. And it's at the top of the mountain. Not anybody can reach it. So the women, they climb in order to reach that, to put that string. The women, imagine. They go to the organization, climbing, just to put that string and make a wish. Maybe that wish, oh Lord, make my husband not to marry a second wife. Maybe. She climbed all that way just to make sure that her husband will not marry a second wife. And when the husband may be tying up a string and says, oh Lord, when can I get rid of my wife? What was that? As a joke here, for the men and the women and brothers and the sisters, one of the brothers, this is a real one, the Sheikh is explaining in front of people, saying that in the Jannah, inshallah, you're going to have your Hur al-Ain, when you come, your virgin of paradise, and then you come to a room and everything, and then the one which is the head of the virgin of paradise is going to be what? Your own wife. Your own wife is the head of the whole of it. So, when he said that, one of the old men, he said, Sheikh, are you sure this is authentic hadith? Are you sure? He made it, of course, maybe as a joke, or maybe he meant it. Are you sure it's authentic hadith? He's following me, then just here, follow me there, and then we're after. And this is just to make you laugh, you and the sisters as well. Now, further.
The people who are wearing the copper,
The copper, the metal, yeah,
they said it's the same like medicine.
there's no medicine, ask the doctor.
So,
There's no such thing as called medicine. If it's approved medicine, you can put it on.
people they believe when they're eating the medicine itself is cure.
No. You cannot, for example, put something and you say it's a medicine, it's not a medicine. It has to be a medicine. So if you ask, so the medicine is that proved scientifically. So why is it that I put the copper and I've got pain and you've got the copper, I'll be cured and you'll not be cured? So why? So the ones who have belief in that is the one who may be cured. And this is psychological, isn't it? Perceived, huh?
Placebo. Placebo.
What's placebo means?
Like because your mind makes heal yourself. You think
Or unperceived. Placebo and perceived.
so it's like basically you know this is not going to heal you, right? But because you think that's a special drink heals you.
Yeah. And perception from before, isn't it? And in conception, you have this all mentality. Okay, but you see, this is, as I said, why is it that you believe in that particular shape of the cup? So if I brought you a bigger one, would it cure these people? No. It has to be that particular shape. You understand? It's not. So you're going to change the shape in the middle. No, it's not curable. So why? Because it's not like this. Well, it's cover, the same thing, but I made it this way. See? That's why I would say it's not allowed. Now. Follow.
You mentioned about can't give your body for donor because it's Allah gave it to you. If you know someone needs a kidney and you go donate to them, is that not real?
Your necessity is not people's necessity. So if you are in a necessity, that doesn't make it become a necessity upon me to give you. You understand that? Do you understand what I'm saying? If you are in need and it becomes for you a necessity to get a kidney, your necessity does not become a necessity upon me to provide you with that kidney. Okay? The dismantle between necessity, you have to understand that as well. Now, coming to the point that if your necessity does not permit me to go haram in order to do your necessity, that's the whole issue. I cannot go to make haram in order for you to take your necessity. I cannot go and steal money in order for you to survive. I cannot. So it's the same thing we talk about the human being. Human being, as a human being, you don't own your body. Your body belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, when the person has a symptom like, let's say, kidney failure. Kidney failure, either you're going to have dialysis, or the better option to have a kidney transplant. Some people, they come, my father, I want to donate for my own. And you know for a fact that the doctors, they say, is going to put that person in a danger. When you take one kidney, Allah did not give you two kidneys, one spare to give it to whoever you like, and one kidney for you. No. Two kidneys, therefore, a function. Allah made them. Even you need only 30% of one kidney, but it doesn't matter. So you are jeopardizing the life of a person when you have the kidney who is alive. You have other options. A donator from a non-Muslim, because they are not Muslims, they want to donate. Now, is buying a kidney from a non-Muslim donator halal? Do you understand me? Is buying. Now, the buying, the scholars are different. The correct opinion is not allowed. So it has to be free donation. We don't want now to have shops selling human limbs. We have spare kidneys. Imagine supermarket, because soup shop, hearts. Imagine. And the kidney is being frozen, of course.
People are smuggled to countries for donation and giving something. People are in black market, they're taking out kidneys and body parts sold.
Yeah, they're taking it from alive people. Alive, they sell it. Maybe.
Yes.
They sell it to alive people. Well, yeah. Like somebody who said it in
Bangladesh.
In Pakistan,
And poor people, they're smuggled. In
how much is it? Somebody said to me $25,000.
You will get
In
Go
$25,000.
to these countries and they will manage.
$25,000, but no, because you have to go through somebody who's in your country, because he will take some money as well from his pocket. It's all of it mafia.
Like a chain.
Yeah, it's a chain. I will give you that, I will get you that person, the other doctor there, the other doctor will get that poor patient who is in need of money, willing to feed the family of his. You want to sell one of his kidneys.
Yeah.
That's not allowed. But it's allowed for a kidney to be given to you by a disbeliever with the permission of his family. No problem. Because they are their religion. But for us, we cannot. No. Transfusion of blood, no problem. Okay, blood is no problem. Fadal.
So we've got like Quran app in our mobile.
Quran application in mobile.
In our mobile.
A number of times I answered the question, but I said to you, is your heart got Quran or not? Your heart, does it have Quran or not?
Yeah, I've got Quran, yeah.
You got Quran in your heart. It's an application from Allah, isn't it? Yes? Okay, so what about that one? They're going to go to the toilet. You're going to put your heart outside and come inside or what? I'm asking. Tell me, yes or no? Can you put your heart outside the toilet and come inside? So you have to go with your heart inside. Right. So your heart is hidden. Just like that Quran of yours is hidden. Whether it's a proper Quran, you put it in the bag, or that mobile, which when you switch it off or you turn the screen off, it's not Quran anymore, it's a mobile. Yeah. So if I got this application of the Quran, which I have, okay, so if I put it like this, let's say like that. So if I like this, if I go to the toilet, it's not allowed because it's showing. But if I do like this, switch the screen, if I did like this, I could go, just like my heart. I could go like this, and no problem. Okay, don't leave your mobile outside because you're not going to find it if you come out. Do like these people who don't understand anything. Because okay, about Quran, and then you'll worry about your money. Take it with you, just like that, and hide it, no problem, inshallah. Okay, follow. Now. Then that's something.
You know when the hadith talks about Badr, it's like the Badr, and the fact that Iblis was there and he ran away, and then that the big shayateen that trained up in Ramadan, and Badr was in Ramadan. So which Iblis would that? Is that like the Iblis is in head of Shaytan, Iblis, or is it one of the smaller Shaytan at the time? Yeah, how should Ramadan?
Right. The Battle of Badr happens on the 17th of Ramadan. Now, when Iblis came and he said to the people of Quraysh, do this and do that, and then later on he said, I've got nothing to do with you, because he saw the angels coming, fighting along with the Muslims. Inni ara ma la taraw, could see things. Does that mean that the Iblis has not been tied up? We said a number of times in the Ramadan, we said that the ones who had believed all the shayateen are to be locked up. Some of them they said only the marada. Now as for Iblis, why isn't that tied up? Allahu A'lam. And remember, by the way, the marada means marada as in marada means like Iblis. Marada means a powerful jinn. The ones who have marad means very tall, high and big. It could be not Iblis. I mean, he's got power, physical and also spiritual. Those are the ones who tied up. You understand that? Married. Now, follow.
Is the Islamic mortgage that the bank provide?
Is the
Islamic mortgage?
Mortgage.
So, all Islamic mortgage.
And good fix it up, good correction. So-called Islamic mortgage. Eh, what?
Is it halal? Is it something, can we take it?
I cannot talk about mortgages, and I don't like to have the word to say Islamic mortgages. I don't like that. Say mortgages. Don't say Islamic mortgages. Because you're saying Islamic zina. Is it halal? It's exactly the same thing. Wallahi, there is no difference. You're saying Islamic zina is halal. Islamic zina? How can it be?
This obviously what the people.
Remember, no one is saying, even the people messed up the whole thing. Because they made the halal, haram, halal. So mortgage is a mortgage. Mortgage is haram. So don't pollute that word by nice things. Just leave it polluted in itself. Because that word is mortgage. What is mortgage? Haram. You could say, is Islamic transactions is taking place these days. Islamic deals, Islamic investment, whatever you want to call it. But don't call it mortgage. Mortgage is like zina. So these days, costume. Costume, what do you think about costume now? Naked. That's costume. Nakedness. So you say Islamic nakedness. Same thing as Islamic costume. I don't like the word Islamic costume there. Put a costume in its own, and Islamic in its own. Because Islamic became a nail, in the wall. And everybody hangs on it things. Islamic mortgage, Islamic banks, Islamic dance, Islamic dance, Islamic insurance, Islamic, and then Islamic costume, burkini, The word Islamic is there, they hook on everything they want. Yeah, Islam is on its own, I don't know, I can't really talk about all the banks. There's Bank Al-Rayyan, Bank Al-Habib, Bank Al-Musharraf. I can't.
I'm guessing you take this to help.
No, I don't track anything unless I'm really 100% sure. But I tell you what, there is things which are halal these days. The non-Muslim, they do it better than these banks. This is called the partner ownership. Partner ownership, they do it, the council, they do it, because they want to sell houses. And they're very good. They give you special prices, deal. And as well, they've got the partner ownership. Yeah, they're very good there.
Share ownership.
Huh? Share ownership, yeah. Very good.
I looked into that.
Look into that properly. But not all the councils, they do it. Not all the councils. So some boroughs, they do it, some don't. But how can they do it? No. So you have money, so you pay, for example, 100,000, you get it. 50,000, 8,000, you get it. And you own share of the house, and you start paying rent for the rest of the house. Whatever remains which is not being bought. Do you understand that?
Yeah, private.
Yeah. Yeah, but the bank is different. The bank, they don't own anything. They don't build houses. That's the problem with it. The bank, they tell you which house you want. Yeah, such and such place. And then they will, okay. They make a deal with you before they go and buy that house. That's the haram in it. Whereas those people, they build the house. They own the house. You understand me? That's the difference. Now,
Would it be real khalqillah if a brother who became bald is trying to plant it?
is it taghyir khalqillah if a person be bald, he wants to transplant hair? No, it is not. Because the transplant of the hair is nothing to do with a wig or wasl, which is time making longer. Because you are actually planting something in your hair because your head, okay, is supposed to grow hair. But if you're planting something else, if you're planting onion or it's not hair, then it's not taghyir khalqillah. Because khalqullah, vision of Allah is that you have what? Hair. That's khalqullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So no problem to have, and this, alhamdulillah, our scholars, they have no difference among this, and no problem to transplant, but not to put a wig, because a wig is a fake. Now,
Should you still call to Tawheed by calling Tawheed because it will cause you to ask for So should you still call to Tawheed? So certain people, especially in Pakistan, if you call Tawheed to them, they're going to get people to put Sihr on you.
called Tawheed?
If you call someone to Tawheed,
You called him?
You call someone to Tawheed,
Mhm.
and by doing that, it's going to invoke them trying to put Sihr on you. Should you avoid that situation? You should still do it.
I can't answer the question like this because it's a question which is generalizing things which are not generalized. I can't.
Pakistan,
It's not right. It's not right to generalize. In Pakistan, to say that every time you call somebody Tawheed, he will put magic on you.
Certain relatives that you have,
Mm.
they're connected with these people. So by calling them, and they've made it outright that you do that.
You are the person to judge, and I cannot really generalize a question like this. I cannot, because calling the Tawheed and put magic onto you. Person who's got Tawheed himself is very hard to be having magic on him. Very hard. Because you are immunized against the magic. You are with the power of Tawheed. But you should be careful not to drink their water. You should be careful not to eat their food. You should be careful not to be giving the traces from your body. That's all. You should be careful. You give the Tawheed in a land where it's known to have magic. And you have last question, please, for the doctor. Uncle, do you have any questions? Jazakallah khair.
So if someone, without, the breaking the tamima we're talking about, without informing, hides the tamima of somebody. Because
To hide the tamima?
Yeah, just take away.
No problem. Breaking the tamima, the one I told said in front of a person because it will cause you trouble, unless you are a person of power, like a father to the son. But if you said, for example, that you saw a tamima of your own father, your own mother, your own brother who is older than you, and you are breaking it without them knowing, or they will not be knowing, because it might be, oh, we know who's done it, and you end up with trouble, then I would say, yes, change it, burn it, whatever you want to do with it, do it. But remember, look at the consequences. Always, when you judge something, look at the consequences. If you're going to break this, you're going to end up with a guy, mushrik, coming to your house and making a live ta'awiz to your father. Why should I break it? Leave the one which is there, instead of getting more ta'awiz in your house. So you have to be looking at the consequences always. This is the knowledgeable person, look at the consequences. أسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن ينفعنا وقد سمعنا وجزاكم الله خيرا.